Because I want to get right into this. Today, we're going to talk about something that it's going to seem a little bit unusual for us, but it's something that I'm actually really curious about. And I'm going to preface this by saying, just for the sake of this conversation, just so that we know where we're coming from, I'm an active member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I can honestly say I've done a lot of bad things in my life, but I have never done drugs other than when I was prescribed a painkiller after surgery. I've never smoked, and I've never even drank alcohol. And
really?
Yeah, never.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I'm not joking.
Really?
Yeah. See, that's
well, you had your tongue pierced and your ears pierced.
Yeah, but I never drank or I never
so you just
smoked.
wanted to look like you were into that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was all for the ladies.
Okay, so today we are going to talk about marijuana or cannabis, and we have two experts with us today that are both in cannabis or marijuana related businesses. We have Chase from Bow Hemp. Thanks for being here, Chase.
Thanks for having us.
And Rich from Dose of Nature. And so first of all, how can you guys, or I'll start with you, Rich, how can you be in a cannabis-based business in Utah? How's that possible?
Legally or morally?
No, legally. Legally. Well, you're a Mormon guy too, right?
I'm very active. I consider myself very conservative.
Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
And it took me a long time before I, got past that initial, get the hint Satan kind of reaction to it. And so we were doing nutritional supplements, and we have some interesting technologies to increase the bioavailability and nano-sized stuff. And we were approached by a group in Salt Lake to do a nano CBD. And
what's CBD?
Cannabidiol. It's one of the two major active constituents within the cannabis plant.
And what's the other one?
THC.
THC, I've heard about. That's the one that. That's the one that
makes you high.
Makes you high. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what everybody, like when a guy gets drug tested for work, they're testing for THC.
Yeah,
right?
Metabolites of THC.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I refused for a year to even look at it because it to me, I didn't really know the difference, between cannabis and marijuana and hemp. They were all sort of code words for me. My brother was a drug addict.
Oh,
so
really?
And my brother, I loved my older brother.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, I was probably 12 when I borrowed his coat and looked in the pocket and there was a bag of marijuana in it. And he's going, Rich, don't freaking try that. Because if you want to stay a good Mormon, don't try it. Because if you try it, you'll like it.
Really?
Yeah. And I never tried it. I'm, marijuana virgin. But
he was right.
Again, I was really cautious about it. And but they challenged me. And they challenged me to open up my mind to what CBD did versus THC.
Uh-huh.
And CBD, the cannabidiol product. And that was where all of a sudden you open your mind up into the anti-seizure for epilepsy or autism, for PTSD, for depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, homicidal thoughts, brain injuries and all the aspects of it. And it opened up my mind, and so we started doing testing. I actually did a job for them for 6 months and got into it, looked at the research, and sort of got to the point where I was going, okay, I can clearly be a CBD guy without necessarily jumping on the marijuana.
But did you already know
THC.
it was legal in Utah?
No.
Okay.
They were the ones that sort of had to get me there.
Okay.
And we had to go do our own due diligence in the court cases and stuff. And really what makes it, and again, you could try to explain it and it won't make sense to normal people, but it is our legal system, is that if it's if you look at the Controlled Substance Act, it says that anything that comes out of the cannabis plant is a Schedule I drug. And that's why everybody thinks that no matter what
Schedule
comes out
I's
of it,
the worst, right?
the
That's
worst,
heroin, cocaine, everything.
the worst of everything.
Yeah, okay. All right.
And that's why there hasn't been a lot of true medical research on it in the United States. But
Is that the reason why, or is it because it's blocked by
it's hard to get, for one, but you have to be licensed as a lab to handle that type of material. It'd be like handling radioactive material. And so it's
even more difficult than like pharmaceutical companies that are passing out all the traditional pharmaceutical drugs.
Correct.
Yeah, because you have to have security. It'd be like radioactive material. If to do research on it, it's not just a little thing where you're handing it out to people and saying, hey, how does this make you feel? As a Schedule I drug, it's significant. And
Why don't they test it in Amsterdam or something?
Oh, they do. And Israel, Brazil, there's been a lot of countries that have taken the lead on the CBD research.
Cool.
And so in 2004, the Hemp Industries Association sued the DEA, and they tried to get CBD and hemp products delisted from the Controlled Substance Act. And that was what really opened up the whole hemp CBD versus marijuana, THC, whatever is in marijuana. And so what the court, and it went
But
up.
to be clear,
Yeah.
CBD is also in marijuana.
It is.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. And let me come back to that.
Okay.
And so what the hemp ruling found, and it went up to an appeals court. They went at the appellate level, and they beat the DEA, saying that if you grow hemp, and hemp is used for fiber and hemp seed oil and building materials and
hemp
clothing,
diapers and hemp T-shirts,
Everything.
Yeah.
And so if the hemp plant is grown for hemp seed, for hemp fiber, it's a true hemp plant. These aren't your little home grow, little squatty bushes. These are, 12-foot plants that grow outside. If it's grown for seed and stock, it becomes exempted from the Controlled Substance Act. And so even if it has trace amounts of THC in it. And that was a major ruling that allowed people then to extract CBD from hemp plants, male and female grown for seed and stock. In that court case, though, it specifically said that if you're growing female-only plants and harvesting the buds and using the resin to produce it, it is not exempted. And so if you grow it like marijuana, it is marijuana. If it's grown like hemp, traditional industrial hemp, it is legal.
What's the difference between hemp and marijuana? to a layman.
That sounds so technical that how is a police officer going to pull up to your backyard and be like, yeah, that's hemp?
Well, you can't grow hemp. You can't grow hemp legally in the United States except state by state, and so you can't tell. It looks the same, can smell the same. You couldn't tell unless you take a leaf and assay it or a bud and assay it.
Assay
and so,
it.
Yeah, you have to take it to a lab and have an HPLC.
So test it.
Yeah.
Is that what assay means?
Certificate of analysis. Chemically, we talk
I
about
got to take an assay today. That sounds essay. Well, that's interesting.
And so,
dang.
And so in the cannabis plant, there are two major cannabinoids, the active ingredients. One is THC and one is CBD. There's a few others, CBN and CBC, CBG, but really the industry revolves around THC and CBD. And no matter whether it's indica, sativa, a hybrid, whatever plant it comes out of, each strain is sort of based on the relative percentage of THC to CBD. And so there's high THC strains and high CBD strains. And they all have different medical benefits.
And different cool names.
There you do.
Very cool names.
Chase knew more than me.
Well, Chase, let's introduce you. Your company's name is Bohemp. So what differentiates? What do you do differently than what Rich does?
He seems more business. You seem more party.
Yeah. Well,
you seem like maybe you've tried different types of CBD and THC. Is that true?
I'm from Colorado, so read between the lines there. But essentially, my brand, I'm essentially just a private label off of Rich's company, Dose of Nature. It's virtually the same products. It's just going after a little bit of a different, market, a little bit of a different niche than kind of what Rich is and, his product line and, what he's trying to do. So,
okay, well, I guess I'd be curious, what's your opinion on, since both of you believe so strongly that there are benefits. I mean, you just listed a ton of things that you treat with CBD. Chase, what do you think is the reason why this isn't something that is actually tested and used instead of something as hard as the current pharmaceuticals, which I just looked it up for this podcast today. There are more than twice as many deaths from pharmaceutical or from prescription drugs than there are gun deaths in the entire country.
Right. Oh, man. There's a lot of things that kind of play into that. I think the biggest thing is really the education. There's just not a lot of education on this subject. It's still sort of counterculture. Our culture's starting to move away from it being, I don't know how you want to classify it, but, people want it to be out of the Schedule 1 just so we can research it. So the studies can be done. So, there's more education to get out to the people. I'm sorry, your question.
No, so what I'm saying is why would it be something? I mean, right now, it's 24. I looked it up. There's 24 states where medical marijuana is legal. What keeps it from being just a federal, like, across
if it's
the board?
so good, if there's all these different benefits you guys are talking about, sounds like a miracle drug, honestly. Why is it so difficult to get tested, and why is it treated and classified the way it is?
I mean, personally, I think you have to look into the, pharmaceutical world and the lobbyist world and the political world. There's a lot of money that a lot of these pharmaceutical companies lobby against the research against, CBD. And again, I just really think it's just an education issue where, because it is a Schedule 1, it's not, we're not able to research it, kind of like Rich was talking about. It's a lot harder.
And you guys said you have two different philosophies or routes. Like, what's your route with this and your business, and what's your?
So I'm LDS, and
Uh-huh.
I'm older and a little more mainstream, and so we tried to take Dose of Nature out and break beyond. Like, if you go into a lot of the hemp sites and medical marijuana sites, they're pretty gruesome. And a lot of F-bombs and this and that, and people talking about the feelings of the highs that they get. But when you're trying to take CBD, is this miracle ingredient, I can't call it a drug, but a miracle ingredient out to mothers whose children have autism or epilepsy and cancer, and you take it out to mainstream America. We wanted Dose of Nature. We wanted it to be a gentle brand that would appeal, where we could try to cross over and take a hemp-based product that people sort of have that initial gut reaction against and make it a little more normal. Chase's brand with Bohemp is a little more earthy, natural, young, healthy living, not bohemian, outdoors. It's
outdoors.
What's the difference between a bohemian and a hippie? One shaves their armpits and one doesn't. I mean, how do you tell the difference?
I don't know, to be honest.
So are both of your products legal right now? Can I go to a store and buy these? Where can somebody buy this or your product?
Well, there's a hemp shop up in Salt Lake that sells them, but we sell them online. So we sell them all 50 states. We sell them different countries.
So I can buy this here in Utah right now.
Yeah.
Same with your product.
Yep.
Or online.
Yep.
So then, Rich, I have because a lot of our guests or listeners are LDS, or this will be. Is this a violation technically of the word of wisdom, or is this a gray area? I'm sure you've dealt with that. What's the answer on that?
Well,
is it the personal choice thing?
No. Without reading and again, I'm not speaking for the church. I'm just speaking for me,
Sure.
my
Yeah.
internal.
Yeah.
I'm asking
diligence,
as a potential.
So the first thing you have to look at, is it legal or not legal? Is it a drug? Is it not a drug? But then tobacco and alcohol are legal, but we shouldn't do them.
Well, just for clarification, all it says when they ask you the questions, they say, do you smoke, drink, alcohol, coffee, tea, or use any illegal drugs? And
Yep.
so that wouldn't be any of those.
No.
Technically, that you pass, you can go to the temple, you can get married, you can do all that stuff according to this, because this is
Yeah.
just a natural,
And Right.
natural
Herb.
nutritional supplement.
it's an
Right?
herb, and herbs are for the body. So
Okay.
the issue to me was, is there anything in this that's psychoactive? Is there anything in this that would be addictive? And there really isn't. There's nothing in it that makes you crave it more. It makes you feel better. It does a lot of nice things, but there's nothing in it that's inherently.
It does a lot of nice things.
It does. I
It's
tell you.
So you
impressive.
actively use it? You're,
I periodically. I don't, like I said, I'm not.
would
I
you
don't
let your
have
kids? Do
pain
you let
and
your kids
cancer.
use it if they want to?
If they
Good
needed
questions.
it, if they needed it, I would let them do it.
Yeah.
And what
There's
would be
nothing-
what would be something they'd say, hey, Dad, I'm feeling this, and you'd say, here, let's try this.
If they had seizures at their age.
Yeah, seizures, autism, Asperger's, any one of the spectrum. If they were depressed, I mean, we had a 16-year-old kid who came in the other day, and he was suicidal. He's in a residential program. He's on antidepressants, pharmaceutical antidepressants, and has been for years. And the guy came in, he was slumped over in his chair and couldn't look up, and he was just shaking, back and forth. And I gave him some of the CBD shooter, and I doctored one up for him, and I said, drink this. And his parents were both there, and literally within 5 minutes, he sat back in his chair, he started laughing, pulled out his cell phone, was texting his sister, taking photos, he was on Instagram, and that was a Friday afternoon. By Monday, the parents called me, and I could read you the text. It's like, we've got our little boy back. We haven't seen him like this in 10 years.
Well,
And
what is it about the CBD that works for those kind of
Yeah.
issues?
So it's anti. So and I'm not just again,
Like physiologically.
Yeah, no, I have to
what
be
does it
very
do?
careful. But strangely enough, the people that patented all these claims is the U.S. government, National Institute of Health. The patent was in 1998, 7-8, and they patented 216 claims for CBD. Antidepressant, anti-anxiety, anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, neuroprotective, neurogenerative, and so
So that's an actual patent that the federal government owns.
today is still active.
And why do they do nothing with it?
$1 million question.
Well, and some people they've
That is-
tried.
That's the billion.
They've tried
that's
licensing.
a multi-billion-dollar.
Can you
Multi-billion.
get back to the question you asked, Chase? The pharmaceuticals companies and the FDA tried to suppress it, I think, on the one hand, but right now they're embracing it. In fact, they're trying to take it out of an herbal supplement market back into controlling it only by pharmaceuticals. So at Primary Children's up in Salt Lake, they're doing a study right now on Dravet syndrome, pediatric epilepsy, a certain type of pediatric epilepsy, with pure CBD. And because of that, because they have all of these new investigational new drug applications, they're saying, well, CBD now should be a drug, it shouldn't be an herbal supplement. And so, where on the one hand you try to, and again, I don't want to, government conspiracies aside. On the one hand, it is an herbal supplement,
Yeah.
and so, and again, there's big companies right now trying to take this into a pharmaceutical vein, because and really the whole market behind CBD and the awareness for me started with that little girl Charlotte Figge. And it was the CNN documentary called Weed with Sanjay Gupta, and they talk about this little girl whose life had been one perpetual seizure, 50 seizures a day from the time, I don't know if it was exactly from the time she was born, but 3 or 4 years old, she'd have so many seizures a day. Her life was one continual seizure. And the issue with seizures is you never quite know if that seizure is going to be their last. And the parents and the struggle they have with the seizing baby, and you can't stop it. and there's nothing you can do, and it's intractable seizures, and the drugs don't work, and they gave her CBD, and she went from 600 seizures a week to maybe 1. And now you've got almost a quadriplegic kid because they've never had time to develop the brain. They never had time to walk. And all of a sudden you see this little girl start to stand up and walk and learn how to talk. And then all of a sudden you see her growing and dancing, and she's spinning around and running around. Whoever thinks the brain is hardwired by the age of 2 is wrong, because CBD has there's something in it that allows the brain to recover. Neuroprotective, neurogenerative. You see it in Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease. And so when you list all of the benefits of CBD, and I've done this, and people in Utah say, well, you're just another freaking multi-level marketing company, another nutritional supplement company.
To be clear, you're not a multi.
We're not. Okay. I hate it.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
No, we're not. And yes, there are a lot of shysters in nutritional supplements. But when you look at the U.S. patent and what they claim, and so when you say Alzheimer's, autism, epilepsy, and all this list of diseases, when you go back to the core claims, neuroprotective, neurogenerative, anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, anti-anxiety, all of those things play in. And I think one of your interests and why we met was, what are the implications not just for this host of diseases, but what about brain injuries for student athletes, or whether it's UFC fighters or MMA or football players. And football players, we're not just talking about guys who make millions of dollars on Sunday. There's a whole host of injuries to start with Pee Wee football, where you strap helmets onto 6-year-olds and they go barreling in, and you end up with paraplegic, quadriplegic kids, or kids who suffer severe concussions through high school. And these high school kids, and I don't want to mention names, but there's a couple of, Max Hall, BYU quarterback, has all these injuries, gets addicted to opiates while he's playing. And what does the poor guy do when he leaves? Nothing. And they have brain injuries, and they have this addiction to things, and that's the kind of stuff that CBD can help with and fix and overcome.
So I have a question. If this is more of a broader question, maybe Chase, you can help with this. But if there's all these, I believe there are really positive things with medical marijuana, obviously, and I also believe that I'm not really pro pharmaceuticals either. In fact, I'm pretty far against most pharmaceuticals. But if medical marijuana in general is so good, and there's the CBD and all these different strands are so good, why don't we all just take the THC and the psychoactive part out of it, and just or even like the laws in Colorado, the recreational side, the getting high side out of it? Why doesn't the industry just take that out and sell it for the pure benefits without the addictive highs and the psychotropic?
Well, they have, in the regard of, this product comes from hemp. And so,
so this comes from hemp, not marijuana?
So to sell it is what we call, again, the industry calls 50-state legal. Uh-huh. It has to come out of industrial hemp.
Okay.
In California, Colorado, Oregon, Washington, where it's grown as marijuana and sold as marijuana dispensaries.
Is it better that way, or more pure, the CBD?
CBD is CBD. So to me, it's more of a balance of the CBD and THC. So the medical marijuana crowd would say that CBD is great, but with THC it's better.
Yeah, some people think
why? Because it's high, or because
is some sort of a carrier for CBD, or
there's a lot of theory behind it, and it would
not enough research
so
out there to definitively say.
A lot of people say the CBD is great, but the THC actually makes the CBD's benefits work better.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, and that's what they do say, but the weird thing since I've been working with Rich and seeing how effective CBD is just by itself is, not that it would be challenging against those guys, but the results that we've seen with Rich's product, and especially with the autism and cancer, CBD works pretty well just as CBD, without the THC side of it. So again, there's a lot of research and education that has to be done in that regard.
But getting back to your question, the marijuana industry is developing all new strains that are high CBD strains. So you start out with, your high THC strains. They have a tiny bit of CBD in them. And then they developed what they call CBD rich strains. And that's like higher than 4% CBD. And so all of a sudden they said, okay, we recognize CBD is important. We're going to start developing strains. Now, then they went to what they call the 1-to-1 strains. So it's 6% THC, 6% CBD.
What's the rest of it? What's the other 88%?
Different oils. It comes out of the extract and plant extract. So,
okay.
and there's a lot of natural oils that come in the plant. And so the 1-to-1 strains would be like Blue Blood or Canatonic, CBD Kush. And those are your 1-to-1 strains, and those are getting very popular. Now what's happening is they also have with Charlotte's Web, you end up with a lot of new strains that are super high in CBD, very low in THC. And those, Charlotte's Web from Charlotte's, Figgy, that one. Avidecol is the Israeli strain. There's ACDC. There's a number of high CBD strains now that are coming out in the marijuana industry that would imitate very closely what we have here out of industrial hemp or commercial hemp.
So, and this is more my question, is if it's such a big, there's all these great effects, it's almost a miracle drug, it's big business, why is it hijacked or with the psychotropic, the getting highness of it, and they name it like wiggly, wobbly, weird names, that don't date. I mean, they're not getting taken serious, right? So, I mean, I see on your end, you're a businessman. Why is in the industry in general? Why don't they just focus on the business aspects of it and leave the bad, I guess the bad baggage behind and move ahead that way?
And I think it is. I think the industry is starting to change. I mean, it's crazy, man. It's weird to see the evolution of this industry. We were just in a trade show in Phoenix, and I mean, all the different industries that are coming out of this it's pretty impressive.
It's pulling in more mainstream business people.
Yeah.
On the medical marijuana side and on like what we would call the hemp side. And so some people look at us, because we're not a marijuana strain, they look at us like, oh, you guys are like hemp hustlers,
Mm-hmm. You're just selling us grass juice.
There's nothing in
real.
it.
Yeah.
And they do like the marijuana strains, but more and more, and there's a number of companies, not just.
But let's be clear. Let's say it again. Marijuana and hemp are the same thing.
They come out of the same plant.
I mean, they're really basically like I mentioned to you right before we started this. They're both dogs. One just is a more mature dog or a different breed of dog, but they're both the same plant. They just, how do you tell the difference? I don't get it. I still don't get that.
You have to do a certificate of analysis and look at the CBD to THC ratio. Now, from a grower,
Splitting
like
hairs,
if you were growing and you wanted an indica strain or a sativa strain, and the plant structure, the leaf structure, the number of buds per plant, growers will look at a whole different number of factors relative to the strains in order to what they want to grow. But from a consumer point of view, the consumers, the people that are struggling with all these medical issues who say, okay, I've got cancer, and I hear, medical marijuana or hemp is great, all they're looking for is really the CBD content, the THC content, the relative balance, legal or not. And that's where we're trying to get out of that whole medical marijuana culture, the counterculture, and how do you open it up to sort of convince Main Street America into looking at and not being afraid by the word hemp, because it doesn't mean marijuana per se. And it's
it's not just to the purpose of getting high.
Yeah,
correct. You can't.
Like, for example,
they call this stoner's disappointment. It looks like it, smells like it, and you should open some bottles. It smells like it. It's just there's no high. There's none
Not that I'm going to be the best judge.
Well,
but
have you guys gotten family practitioners or psychologists or wilderness therapy guys, instead of saying, hey, you need to get on Prozac or you need to get on whatever antidepressants, why don't you try CBDs? Have you gotten some legitimate medical doctors to give your product a chance before they go to a
We do. We probably
pharmaceutical?
work with nationally 75 practitioners and I'm talking MDs mainly. There are some naturopath and holistic doctors, but the MD world is really starting to look at this. Insurance companies are looking at this as a way of, they're looking at it as a drug, and partly because all these new drug applications are coming in for it. There's local doctors in Salt Lake that prescribe it. So we get people who
But if
come
you
in.
prescribe it, does that help subsidize the cost of this?
No, there's no medical reimbursement.
Okay,
I mean, it's
I got
all
you.
out of pocket.
Okay.
But a doctor, so like, and I don't know, in different herbs and supplements, if you went to a doctor and said, I'm going to take X herb to help me with Alzheimer's, I'm going to go on an omega-3 rich diet with astaxanthin, do you think it will help me, doctor? And they'll like, no, take a pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
We've heard time and time again where people are starting, especially in autism or epilepsy, where they'll go to the doctor and they'll show them our product and saying, look, we're looking at CBD. What do you think about this? And they are responding positively. They can't prescribe it, they can't recommend it, but they're aware of it and they're talking about it. And I think that lends itself to sort of this new Utah bill that they're looking at as I do think there is an openness of practitioners, given the wealth of information on CBD and even medical marijuana, that they are very open to it because the effects are clear. You can't deny the results that we're getting.
And is this the best way? The way like is it drops? Is that the best way? Are they sublingual? Do you put it in water?
Yeah,
It's a couple. Rich has a couple products, but yeah, that is a water-based CBD product. There's oils.
Yeah. So if you were to go out in the industry and Google CBD for sale or something like that, most of the companies, 99% of them, because we're like the 1%.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
It's most of them will sell a CBD oil, and it'll have like this is 250 milligrams. They might be 100 milligrams, 250, 500, 1,000, some concentration of CBD milligrams per bottle. But one of the issues that we focus on is in CBD, how come there's certain people that are non-responders? How come people don't respond to it? And so, I took the name off this one, but this one, if you can see all the sediment and the grass, what we call grass clippings in it.
That looks like grass
And it's
juice.
you can't see it.
Yeah, right.
This is probably what would be standard, and so if you put it on paper, it doesn't get absorbed. You'll see the sediment rise.
So this is yours. That's
Yep.
obviously
Oh no,
looks
that's
more
different.
That's a
still
different product.
That's the water soluble one. And so our oil, we start out with a highly refined oil, which has been de-waxed and de-resined. This other stuff, when you buy the base wax, it looks like a candle.
Mm-hmm.
It's solid and it's waxy and you get that. And so for bioavailability, we start out with a highly refined de-waxed oil that dissolves nicely, and it's clear, it's transparent, you can spritz it in your mouth and feel an effect. So everything about us and what we try to do at Dose of Nature is being able, through bioavailability, increased bioavailability, be able to cut down the dosage and get more consistent absorption for medical purposes in essence.
And so is that the best way to absorb CBD, or is it like vaping high CBD
Vaping,
strands,
okay,
or
so-
smoking a?
So the next product, and again, I brought a sample if you guys want to taste some. This is that rich CBD oil bonded to glycerin, and this is. So I don't know if you're much of a vapor, but there's two communities of vaping.
If you are, I didn't know about it.
What did Adam say about Adam? He really ostracized our vaping community 2 episodes ago. So
Oh man.
Come back.
It's a big industry.
Come back. This is a cool show.
Yeah, we'll bring them back for you.
So in the e-cig business, they talk about a VG, vegetable glycerin and propylene glycol, sort of a combination. In the medical marijuana industry, they would vape the basic oil. And so this is the de-waxed oil that we start with.
and where do you buy this stuff, Rich, to make your product? I mean, you're not meeting with the guys down at the border.
No. So he's showing us just a little bit on your finger. And so that's the de-waxed oil. It looks like a black strap molasses. It's not
Tastes
solid.
like I don't know. It tastes like some sort of health plant tasting thing.
But it's rich. So with the de-waxed oil, it allows us to put it into glycerin, which then allows us to, so if you were in the medical marijuana vaping, you would be vaping the oil. In the e-cig market, you vape a glycerin PG, some version of this. And it is, Chase is probably more knowledge about the vaping side, but it hits fast. You can feel it for sure. It feels weird. Like for me, I vaped once, and it's like, it was strange to see smoke coming out of my mouth. It was like, he watched it, it's like funny. But there are times when you get young kids
It's vapor, not smoke.
Yeah. It's all glycerin.
It's all
So
vapor.
this is the water soluble thing if you want to just squirt out a dab. And so and it's the same oil, it's just
Whoa.
bonded to glycerin.
What's the flavor I'm tasting?
That's just hemp.
Hemp flavor.
It is?
That is
Whoa.
natural hemp.
That is very strong.
It's like corn gasoline.
Corn gas.
Come on, be polite.
Yeah. So your clients would just drink a whole
Here,
tube
then.
of that?
Yeah, and so that's what this bottle is. And this is, so one of the reasons you go to a water soluble
Yeah.
is that a lot of people who need this, autistic kids, epileptic kids,
Try
cancer
that.
patients,
That's sweeter.
you have digestive issues and they don't absorb oils well. And they absorb slowly. So if you take like the oils, this takes about 2 hours, hour and a half to 2 hours to get absorbed in your body. By blending it with glycerin and making it in the water soluble version, this will hit you within 3 to 5 minutes. You can drink it, it's absorbed in your stomach, it'll hit your head.
What do you mean by hit you? Like what are you gonna feel?
It's sort of interesting. People feel different things, but a lot of people will feel warmth as it comes down, and you feel it coming back up, sort of out back of your head, and it'll come to the front of your head, and it clarifies things. It's not a high, it's not anything like that, but with stress, anxiety, depression, pain, people have a hard time thinking. They talk about a brain fog.
Mm-hmm.
With CBD, that brain fog goes away, and so. It allows you to think, to partition, to separate yourself from your problems and think clearly. And so it's a clarity that comes.
Well, like if I were to try something right now, would I maybe by the time we're done here, would I feel something?
Absolutely.
Well, let me try it.
Okay, let me give you some of this.
We've got 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, let's see if it hits me within.
Is it gonna?
It should.
Okay.
And it'll be more relaxing kind of after a...
And so I'm starting with a nano CBD water, and it looks just like water.
Okay, it does look.
And
That
then-
looks just like water. There's
So-
nothing. There's something in there besides water.
That's nano CBD, yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm going to give you 4X.
Probably.
Okay, we want you to feel it in 5 minutes.
Give him
Okay.
an Evan dose,
Okay.
an NFL dose.
Okay. And so
Pretty excited for this. I'll
just
take a wait and
just
see
go
approach,
ahead
Adam.
and
Just
just
drink
pop
that?
it. Yeah.
Just shoot it.
Yeah.
That's not near as
Can
bad
you-
as that.
Can you mix it with whatever you want? Can
Yeah.
Adam mix it with his Mountain Dew?
Yeah. No,
Orange
that's,
juice.
Or will it kill the?
No, that's the nice thing about
The
this.
caffeine won't
For
kill
kids,
it.
no. For kids, again, the taste can be strong. The smell is strong, so you can add it to apple juice.
That's not really that
applesauce.
strong of a taste at
No.
all. I mean,
So with kids, I mean, there's a lot of kids with behavioral issues or autisms and varying degrees of that. You're saying you've seen people that have that great success with that, because I think there's a lot of our demographic that probably know people who are like that or have children who
Daily.
are suffering.
It's a
Daily.
And it
People come in the office, and before they leave, a lot. Again, it's I can never say everybody, but typically you can see a big difference. And so we've got a gentleman coming down to our office this afternoon whose 9-year-old daughter has autism, but she self-injures herself. and they've seen an amazing difference almost immediately in terms of the behavior. Or when she starts to flare up and starts to lose control, they give her a cap like I gave you, and she'll calm down. And you can just see it. We've seen it with developmentally delayed kids. Like our most extreme example is we had a 37-year-old girl who had full spectrum autism since the age of 2. Hasn't said a word to her parents in 35 years. She wakes up screaming with night terror every morning, can't wash, can't bathe, can't eat. They treat her like an infant, but hasn't talked in 35 years. 3 weeks on CBD, she says her first word again. And her parents, flew back and hit the wall. They're both medical doctors. They've never seen anything like it. As she continues, now she can cook, she can walk, she's participating, she's in the family, she sleeps better, she can dress herself, bathe herself. And so if you think the brain is hardwired, it's not. And whatever it does in terms of multiple sclerosis and reversing multiple sclerosis or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's and the tremoring hands and things, we see improvements. And it is, and again, is it 100%? No, there are non-responders. And with the non-responders, we look at bioavailability as an issue. We look at other factors that could be there. But there's a lot of hope in these little bottles.
Well, like, for example, how often do you have a woman, because I know that antidepressants in Utah County I've heard that per capita Utah has the highest prescription rate of antidepressants. Does this work well with some of those ladies?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And
does it? They don't feel like just totally so chill. They don't and relaxed. They don't want to do anything. It doesn't take away the motivation.
No. It doesn't. It doesn't. And it's one of the things that you can do is you can take it on top of whatever drugs you're taking. Because they aren't working anyway.
Yeah.
And so, like the football guy who we work with, he was on antidepressants, and they made him suicidal, it made him homicidal, it made him crazy. And when they can get on CBD, he took medical marijuana first. He's doing CBD now. You can calm people down, and then slowly phase off the pharmaceuticals. We're not doctors. I can't tell anyone not to take a drug. But there's no counterindication. There's no problem taking it on top of what they're doing, and they will feel a difference. 95% of the people will feel a difference in 10 minutes.
Well, hey, real quick, I didn't feel bad or anxious or stressed before we started this, and right now, since I took that sacrament cup of
CBD.
marijuana. My marijuana shooter. I actually have it doesn't feel hot, but I feel like a weird warm thing like in the top of my forehead. Is that?
It's the warmth. Yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel hot. It just feels kind of like I can feel something warm in my head.
It's a warming feeling.
But why? Why do I want a warm feeling in the front of my head? Is that doing me? What's that doing for me?
And again, you're probably if you had pain, anxiety, stress, if in a different situation that warm feeling that as you feel it, that counteracts whatever. That's why I don't take it all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not in pain. I'm not.
But that is weird to feel something that I just drank to actually feel. I can definitely notice just some. I don't know. It's slightly warm in the front of my forehead area.
And you feel it, and it comes, and it brings a clarity of thought, a calmness. Like typically,
more
like
relaxed.
You guys are all leaning forward. Like a guy at my desk or someone who would take it would sort of sit back and just sort of go.
Yeah.
and you go, well, what was I saying? And it people come in this woman came in and she was. I don't know, it's hard degrees of pain. She was an 8 to a 10, and she had her arms crossed, and she was just rocking like this, and just couldn't open her eyes, couldn't look at me. And I got her to take some, and in 10 minutes, she was like, oh my gosh, and sat back and relaxed, and had to help her to the car. It doesn't take, well, again, if the oils, people's expectations, oils take longer to process, the water-soluble ones, and that's why we tend to like it. It's much easier to absorb. They taste better. You can feel them faster, and you can see results. And that's, it.
We could talk about this.
Yeah, we've got
we
a
could
couple
talk about
minutes.
this forever because this is really interesting stuff. We'd love to have you guys back. To summarize, how would someone? I guess we'll post all that, but we'll have. So if somebody feels like maybe the things that we've talked about could help them, they can reach you through the contact information that we'll provide.
Yeah.
And what are the things that you've noticed, the main things that people could benefit from?
Cancer. We see a lot of cancer and pain patients. Autism and epilepsy are probably the next two that we see the most of.
Depression, anxiety.
Yeah, depression, anxiety, and those are the things
that
brain injuries and things like that. Those they take longer to heal.
Yeah.
If you've got a structural problem,
How long does the effect last?
Normally 12 hours, and so we'll normally split a dose morning and night. It doesn't inherently make you sleepy, but like stress and anxiety, where your mind is like autism. You get repetitive behaviors, or their brain is cycling on something, and they can't stop looking at the fan spinning around. As CBD kicks in, it allows them to distance themselves and get on with things. And so you see that as kids come into the office, and again, if people wanted to come in, we can try some, give them some just like I did to you, let them try it, and you can notice a difference. And we've seen it with a lot of different kids. It's very rewarding to see, I have to say.
So 1 minute, because we have about 2 minutes left. What's the one thing that you guys would want someone to take away from watching this? Maybe have an open mind towards this, or what would you say is your message that you're trying to get out?
Yeah, I think the open-mindedness of it, and just that whole stigma of hemp or CBD being bad or being attached to marijuana. I think just that alone, if people can separate CBD from hemp, it's not bad in any way, shape or form, and it is legal. And I would say that's probably, for me, that would be the biggest thing.
It's interesting. We have a number of bishops from around the United States who've called us.
Bishops in the LDS Church.
Yeah. And they have people in their ward who are on medical marijuana for pain or for these different things. And they're saying because we're in Utah, they felt a little bit nicer about talking to us, and we'd spend a lot of time explaining to them in terms of the same kind of issues that I went through. But a number of them have recommended it, use it. We don't, again, as you educate people, you can get them over the stigma of hemp as marijuana, because CBD, it can work. And so an openness to it, but also, whatever conditions you're struggling with, just Google it. Look at CBD in depression, CBD in autism, CBD in epilepsy, CBD in multiple sclerosis.
Endocannabinoid system.
Yeah, there is a lot of research out there, and if they can get over the stigma and give it a try, we have seen amazing results. And what I'd like to talk to you guys further about in a different episode is great, but specifically related to sports trauma, brain injuries.
That's the thing I'm most interested in.
And that's what sort of this.
Now that we've set it up in
background,
context, we can do that next time.
Because it has the ability to help a lot of kids who with the injuries, overcoming like the painkiller addictions, and that's a big issue in Utah.
Yeah.
And so, an openness and a little bit of research will go a long way. And we're happy to explain as much as we did today to anybody, and come in and talk to us. We love to talk to people and help educate. So.
Thanks, guys. Well, I think
Thanks
that
a lot.
does it.
Definitely.
And
Thanks
so
for having us.
Appreciate it.
we'll
Thanks,
we'll
man.
put all the links to
Awesome.
this stuff, and interesting conversation going putting out some
Let's go
great
sit in my
content.
office and have a warm brain for a little bit.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys.
That's awesome. That's cool. That's actually